Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Time to welcome our Alpha Manager, Basant Maheshwari, author and portfolio manager at Basant Maheshwari Wealth Advisors, now joins us. Basant, good afternoon. Reading some of your tweets, the classical rule of a bear market that most stocks without earnings supports fall lower to the level from where they started. I'm not asking, is this a bear market? But, I wanted your thoughts on what's happening in the broader markets. We've seen quite a bit of fall in a lot of stocks. Of course, the Manpasants and Vakrangis of the world are down quite a bit. But on an average, we've seen stocks fall quite a bit. Your thoughts on the broader market?
Good afternoon, Anuj. The broader market is dichotomized from the center. If you look at the Nifty, you say, what's the problem? It's down only 5, 6, 7%. But money was never made buying Nifty stocks, and now money is not lost buying the Nifty stocks. The real flavor, the real, the stocks that people really chase are the small caps and the mid caps, and that's where the pain is. So if you look at an average portfolio, it's down 25, 30, 35% from January till now. And if you're down 33% from the top, you need to go back 50% just to break even. So it's like the asking run rate in a cricket match. So if you play one maiden over, then you have to hit 2 sixes in the next. So I think to that extent, the story seems a little difficult for the small caps, the micro caps, the mid caps. I have nothing against the caps. I mean, the size of the cap doesn't determine whether you're going to make money or not. Vakrangi was a large cap. It was a hat rather at 50,000 crores, but it fell. So you have to be with quality. You have to be with earnings, and the market is getting very narrow at the moment. So when the market gets narrow, suddenly you find predictability, surety, and certainty fetches top dollar, and anything where there is even an iota of doubt, gets hammered down. So that's what's happening right now.
So, Basant, good afternoon. It also is a very interesting, I'm guessing, very lucrative time for value investors like yourselves, because yes, values are coming down. And I think one area where all value investors finally hit jackpot is pharma. How have you approached things in the last month? Because you have got pockets where there is a, as you said, 30, 40, 50% correction.
Surabhi, if stock market is a religion, value is God. And there are different ways to reach God. So you can see God in a church, in a mandir, in a mosque, in a gurudwara. It depends on where you find your God. And there are people who are atheists who say there are no God, but it doesn't mean that they die the next minute. So value is a very subjective thing. The biggest thing on value is who decides value. At least not the people who tweet on Twitter. They don't decide value. Value is decided over a period of time. And some people look at value on the basis of what has happened in the past. That's what they say. If the company has a land bank, it has cash on books, it has a low PE ratio. Some look at value on the basis of not what the company has done, but on the basis of what it can do. So we are more in the latter camp, where we take a leap of faith and we say, okay, FY20, FY21, FY22, this company could hit that point. So we are more in that club, and that is why we look for companies that are growing fast, that are growing earnings, that have a decent ROE, and that are capturing market share. The cliched dialogue which I keep giving every time. So looking at that, we find value in the consumer space and in the NBFCs and the odd stock here and there. But mostly our bets are in the consumer space and in the NBFCs, and especially in the high growth segment.
Okay, fair enough. Let's discuss some big market events, Basant. What have you made of the recent noise from the US? It's no longer noise, actually. It's translating into reality, the trade war. This year we'll have big state elections, and the jury is out on whether we could have a general election as well in November. Do you think that the market priced those risks in yet?
Two things about the trade war. I mean, if you look at it optically, it's very nerve-wracking to see what's going to happen when the two tigers in the zoo, they fight against each other. Rather, one elephant and one tiger. In the zoo, they fight against each other. So obviously, as peacocks and hens and camels and sheep, we can just stay back and say, okay, let them end the fight. But I think it's more of posturing. See what Trump did to North Korea, Kim Jong-un, where last year, this time we were discussing whether the next missile from North Korea will land into the Sea of Japan or is going to land on Seoul. But then they held hands together, they walked through the evening, they had a nice dinner, they had good lunch, they had breakfast, and they were friends. So I think Trump is a great businessman, he's a hard negotiator, and I think it's all posturing. Trump understands business like nobody else. His entire cabinet, his advisors are filled with Wall Street veterans, if you might know it more than me. So I think they'll tell him, yeah, you just can't let the Dow crack. And unlike our country where the government doesn't care whether the Nifty goes to 6,000 or to 9,000 or 10,000, in America, a major proportion of their citizens are invested into the stock market, either through the 401ks or whatever. So their government is pretty much aware of the risks to the Dow and the Nasdaq. So to that extent, I think it's all posturing. It's going to come and go. But in our case, I think our market doesn't price in Modi not coming back. That's because we love and like Modi so much. We just cannot visualize a situation that Modi is not there. Modi, Anuj, to my mind, is like an MS Dhoni in cricket. So even if you have 2 overs left and you have Dhoni on the screen, you say, no, ye kuch kar dega, ye chakka maar dega. So with Modi, whatever he does, we give him another chance, like we do it with MS Dhoni. But Dhoni hasn't won us every match, and I think next year could be difficult for Modi.
So are you actually saying there's a possibility, I mean, I don't know, is that a suggestion that you are currently working with, that Dhoni could get run out? Everybody can get run out, right? Or, caught out.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough game. It's not. I mean, I'm not at all competent to look at that. But like I tell my friends, we have to Mamta-proof our portfolio. So assume a situation where the government that you want to be in power isn't there. So what do? You Mamta-proof your portfolio because the Bharat Mala won't be there. So you have to look at those things, and then you have to go back.
You have to Mamta-proof your portfolio. You have to Mayawati-proof, perhaps. You have to Akhilesh-proof. You have to. A lot of people would say even perhaps Rahul Gandhi-proof your portfolio. Basant, where do you stop?
And how do you do it, more importantly?
Anuj, if you can Mamta-proof your portfolio, wait. Anuj, if you can Mamta-proof your portfolio, you can proof it against everybody. Because I am from the city where Didi is here and I know what's happening here. Okay. So I think that's the yardstick. That's the high water mark. So if you can Mamta-proof it, you can do it. So
quite,
what do you
quite
do?
brave of you. Quite brave of you to be sitting in Kolkata and saying this.
They haven't fallen to... Pardon?
Quite brave of you to be sitting in Kolkata and saying this.
That's how I've been all this while. So.
But Basant, to take the conversation...
No, I just assumed that I'll shift to Bombay closer to you in that case.
Fair enough, but right now...
What I'm trying to tell you is, assume a situation...
Yeah, please finish.
So, assume a situation where the Bharat Mala doesn't get extended, right? What happens to all these infra companies? What happens to all the aspirations, all those FY20, FY21, FY22 Excel sheets? I'm not saying this is going to happen. And let me tell you, Anuj, I'm more than 100% invested personally, and I intend to remain that way, irrespective of whether the country is ruled by Mamata Banerjee or Mayawati or anybody, because I've been that way for the last 25, 26 years, always fully invested into equities. We don't have any debt or anything as an asset class. But still, there are ways to look at things and there are ways to approach a situation. So I think consumer and really high quality consumer financiers and anything that's related to high quality and maybe large caps, not caps because of the size of the cap, but because they are efficient businesses, they are growing at a steady pace and taking away market share. I think that's how we should approach the thing.
But that's the thing, right, Basant? Now, you obviously have been an early investor. So some of these consumption stocks, retail stocks that you like so much, even NBFCs, they're anything but cheap. So for someone who needs to quote unquote Mamta-proof their portfolio, whatever, political proof their portfolio, should these still be the go-to areas instead of going for something which is down 20-30% where you're hoping for a turnaround, like say PSU banks?
I mean, the best way to play it safe and to play it well is by the private sector banks, the IndusInd, the Kotaks, and the HDFC banks. I mean, we don't own it because they are very cliched and they're going to give you 20-22%. But that's one way of looking at it. See, 6 months back, we all thought that PSU banks were cheap, and suddenly see what has happened. And look at the economic setup. 25% of the PSU banks cannot lend. They have been stopped by RBI. 75% are focusing on getting the recoveries back so they can reduce their NPA. So there's an entire economy waiting like hungry wolves for money, and that's where the private sector jumps in. So with some of these private sector guys, it's not whether they can grow at 50%, but it's about how much they want to grow. So I think because of that, there is an economic shift in growth happening from the public space to the private space. But if the market falls because of a political event or because of any event, all stocks will fall. Just the good ones recover faster, so they recover better, and that's where you can also have a good sleep at night also.
Okay, by the way, don't lose sight of market now. 300 points higher on the Bank Nifty now. And what has happened all of a sudden is that the Bank Nifty futures, which yesterday, of course, has slipped into a discount, have now moved into a premium. And just see that chart on the Nifty Bank. That's now up 302 points. HDFC Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, all these stocks, of course, doing quite well. So just don't lose sight of that big move that you're seeing right now. Of course, driven by HDFC Bank, but a couple of others as well joining in the fund. So things looking quite good at this point in time. Finally, before we thank you, Basant, any mid-cap theme that you're backing in the past? Of course, you have been invested in stocks like Page Industries, a couple of housing finance stocks did well for you. Anything that is looking interesting now?
No, nothing new, Anuj. Just that we are mostly into consumer and anything that finances the consumer. So to that extent, Bajaj Finance, it's amongst the top 2 holdings for us, and it's doing well. And we want to be with such companies even if they are expensive, because the best part is even if you buy it at a wrong price, you won't lose your capital. You'll get your capital. All it needs is a patient investor. So that's how we are positioned right now.
Fair enough, Basant.